Good evening, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Hope everyone is doing well. Looks like my camera is a little bit off. Let's see if I can do quick. No, wrong way. Come back this way. There we go. Welcome to Learning Live for the last time in 2024. We are here just as we have been the last few weeks with some of our favorite things. Maybe these are things that you are going to put on your wish list. Maybe they are things that you will put on your New Year's resolution list. Tonight I am focusing on the Tim Holtz glass mats. This is one of when I asked the team what their favorite things were, this was one of the things that Tania said that she finds invaluable in her classroom, in her craft room. And there's been some changes on the glass mats over the last little bit. So I thought this was a great opportunity to come to you and talk to you a little bit about these mats, why you're going to want one in your craft room. And then we are going to actually craft a little project because some of the really fun things about this mat is much easier seen than just listened to. But let me just give you the rundown. I see everybody's jumping on. We got lots of eyeballs on their mat. Got a few, so hello and happy Tuesday. This was I'm going to call it the original glass mat. This is actually the travel size, so it is the smaller size, much easier to show here on the camera. And to be totally transparent, I left the big one at the store. So yes, and then this one is the left-handed version, but we'll talk about all of that in just a second. So the original glass mat was nice and big. It was called the media mat. This is the glass media mat, and there is a distinction that I will talk to you about in just a little bit. So the media mat is the black mat that you will see from Tim. And like I said, there is the larger one. The larger one measures 14 by 23 in a footprint with a 12 by 14 grid. This travel size here is 15 3/4 by 10 1/4, and our little grid here is only 8 by 8. So a little bit smaller, obviously, for a travel version. Over here on my left, because this is the left-handed mat, is also a special little area. So this peels up and you've got a little white space here that you can use as a watercolor palette, as a mixing palette, gives you that white background. When Tim first designed this, he really liked the black because, first of all, he's the grunge guy and he liked the black background. He liked the strikingness of it. The white numbers show up relatively easy, and it allowed you to have he felt it was easier on the eyes to have that black background. But when you're mixing your colors, when you're doing watercolors and things, that white area here allows the colors to be a little bit truer. And even though it's not, it does give that impression that it is illuminated. So it'll allow things to be a little bit brighter over here on this side. There is also a little piece of fabric. It is a coated fabric that has a silicone backing and a little bit of a coating here. This is meant to be to protect your little palette area. And you can also, this surface here is almost like your craft mat. So you can do some mixing on top of here as well. So what I'm going to do, just for argument's sake, I'm actually going to flip it this way. This is what the typical travel mat would look like, the travel media mat, with your palette on the right, your grid on the left. And then what Tim did, in his various evolutions of it, is he did come out with left-handed mats as well. We do not have any of those in stock right now, but just so you know why mine was upside down. Over here is the measuring grid. And let me see if I can lift this up here a little bit. The camera's not going to like it. There is a little plus sign here in the middle. That is for centering purposes. So if you wanted to take your piece of paper and you wanted to center it, you would, you've got your 0 here and your 0 over here, and you would just make sure that you lined it up appropriately so you've got that centering mark to keep it, to find that middle part of your paper. There is both metric as well as imperial measurements on here. So if you are following, say, a British instruction guide or something that uses centimeters, you can still use that. And then the grid is made up of little squares that are each 1/4 of an inch. So 4 by 4 makes up your inch. Lots of great markings for easy measurement and alignment and all that kind of thing. It's really easy to take your ruler, kind of line it up, and either cut or draw with a pencil or do whatever you need to do, line up your tape, that kind of thing, using that grid. Now, this is tempered glass, so it is pretty strong, and you can, from what I've been told, cut on it. I have never done that before. Cutting on glass, maybe not for the faint of heart. Would definitely be better if you had the new Tim Holtz ruler, which has the grips on it. But let me see if I can do a little cut here just to show you. Now, as I'm going along, definitely feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Handsome Guy Matt is over on the other side of the room, checking in on things, making sure that everybody is doing okay. And yep, not a single scratch on here from the X-Acto knife. So definitely you can cut on this if it doesn't give you the heebie-jeebies. Okay, what else? What else can I tell you about this guy? So this little fabric mat here, like I said, it's silicone back. So if you want to put it here to cover your palette, you can, or you can pull it off, put it here in the center and work on it. You can do all of those things, move it around as you see fit. A wide range of mediums can be used on this. You can obviously use good old Tim Holtz inks, which we will be doing in a few minutes. Oh, it's just a reflection. You can use alcohol inks. So this whole glass surface minus this, if you are using alcohol inks, whether it's your Copic markers or the liquid alcohol inks, you can do it on here and it will wipe clean, no problem. If for some reason your alcohol ink gets on this fabric piece, it may stain. And by may, I mean pretty darn sure it will stain on this. However, it's not going to affect the performance. It's just going to get a little bit more colorful. Even messy crafters sometimes like a little bit of cleanliness in their lives. Now, I don't know if you can see it here on my mat. There are some little bits of paste and dried on stuff. All you need to do is either take your fingernail, take a plastic scraping tool. He did come out with a silicone scraping tool that you can use to kind of clean off paste, nice and easy. And then the key way that Tim recommends that you clean your media mat is with hand sanitizer. And that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, the alcohol in here will just do a really good job of cleaning up just about anything, but also because it is more of a gel, it's going to sit on there and then you can get your cloth and give it a little bit of a wipe down without it evaporating right before your eyes, before you even have a chance to clean it up. You can work it on here as well. The video that I was watching as a refresher, he even used archival ink. And this is me being brave. Look at that, there's some archival ink. Archival ink isn't always easy to get clean. Put a little bit of sanitizer on there, which also smells really good because it's Bath and Body Works. But look, cleaned it up, easy peasy. So one of the things I do recommend that you keep in your craft area, in your toolbox, is just a little bottle of sanitizer. It doesn't have to be the Bath and Body Works. It could just be, you know, sanitizer that you get from Walmart, but that is just a great and handy cleaning tool for your surface. Of course, you can use water on it as well if you're just cleaning up water-based mediums, but really, really easy to keep clean and keep looking good. I think that covers most of, oh, there is one other point, and we will play with this in a little bit, but when you put your mediums on here, and that's what this little grid is nice for, it fits your little ink cubes nicely. You can put them on here. I've got a couple of other colors here. These are not going to dry. So you can go back and use them over and over again. You can add more to it, and you don't have to keep reactivating it. It's just going to sit here nicely on that glass surface. Unless your ink pad is dry. It looks like mine. Some of mine are a little dry. Some of them, that was tea dye, so that's a nice light color. But yeah, so that's what the original, the OG media mat from Tim Holtz is all about. Now, I mentioned I was watching videos. A little bit of a flashback. I'm going to tell you, I went back to the original video that Tim did at a trade show on the large size media mat. That was one of our first trade shows that we had ever been to. And if you watch that video very carefully, it is the one for scrapbook.com, you might see a very handsome devil in the background. And I don't mean Mario. I don't mean anyone from Tim's team. I mean my OG guy, Matt, is in the background in his plaid shirt watching Tim demonstrate the glass mat. So you did get pushed out of the way by all the ladies, and all the ladies standing there with their cameras. So if you want to go check that out after this video, I'll drop the link in the comments, because you know what? It's just a nice little flash from the past. The original size glass mat did not come with a carrying case. Tim's answer to that is keep the box. Pretty easy, pretty simple. But because this smaller one is called a travel mat, it does come with a neoprene carry bag. Just goes inside there. This little guy flips over the top. I'm actually going to cover. We'll come back to that in a second. And yes, I just covered up the ink. That's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. So this is the little travel case that just keeps it all nice and protected. Fast forward a couple years. This media mat's selling well, doing well. Everybody loves it. But Tim wants to try something different. And some of this was designed for himself as someone who is aging like all the rest of us are and wanting something that was a little bit easier to see. It does also come with a neoprene travel bag. The travel version does. The big one does not. But this is now what he is calling the studio mat. So the main, if you're looking on our website, if you want to know the difference, the black one is the media mat. The white one is the studio mat. Couple things that you will notice that are different. Color is the first and foremost. Where on the media mat, you just had that one little area of white, regardless of which side it's on. This one now has the full surface that is a true white, but then he put the black grid on top, for contrast, so that you can see it more easily. And then that black kind of knocks down the brightness of the white just a little bit and gives you that nice soft look that is a little bit easier on the eyes. This was also done for the Instagram era, as we call it. There are many of us that are taking photos of our projects, that are doing videos with our projects, and so on and so forth. And this gives you, while it's not completely non-reflective, It gives you a much softer look on camera, much easier to take photos, and really knocks down the reflective nature of that, that glass. But it's the same tempered glass. It is the same easy clean. It has the metric as well as the imperial. It's got that little plus sign for centering with zeros. So the 0 is here and here. Or if you are just doing traditional measurements, you come right down here in that bottom left-hand corner. So lots of fun stuff. It is also a full grid, so it gives you a much bigger working surface if you like to have those measurements and grid lines at your disposal. But the overall workspace, I mean, if you didn't look at what was on it, the overall size of the mat is the same. So I know what your next question is going to be. And I don't know, Matt, if there are any questions already on there before I move on. How do you decide? Well, really at this point, it comes down to what is your personal preference. Do you like the white with the full grid? I'm just going to turn it sideways there so that I can bring this one back out. Do you like something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit more portable, that you can take to crops, that you can take to the cottage, to take, you know, or maybe you don't even have a craft room. Maybe you have to store this so that you can pull it out and use it on your dining room table and then put it away again. The travel size definitely is very portable compared to the large size. I don't know if Tania's watching, but I believe she has the larger size because she just leaves it on her craft table all the time. So you know, the size will come down to how you see yourself using it, and really whether it's something that you're going to leave out all the time versus pack away or transport with you to your various events and cropping opportunities. Black versus white, total personal preference. Do you like the white, that you want to be able to see your colors nice and true on the whole surface? I don't know if that green, oh, it does show up pretty good on camera. You know, here's the red there. And I've got a blue here as well. Hey, versus over here, you can't really see the colors when they're on your surface. So that's where this little guy will come into play. So do you like the white? Do you like to do lots of photography that you want that slightly less reflective surface? Or do you prefer the dark, you like the contrast, and you plan to use your palette as opposed to your whole surface? May also just come down to what Santa brings you. So lots of great options there with the mat. All right, I'm going to do a quick cleanup. Matt, no, there's no questions there? No questions. So I'm just spritzing this with water just because I want to start with a nice clean slate. I guess maybe as I'm cleaning up, I'll ask the question. When I do my project, so I'm going to be doing some ink smooshing, I'm going to be doing some heat embossing, and I'm going to be doing some watercoloring. Do you guys want me to do it on the black or on the white? And maybe the answer is a little bit of both. So maybe I'll do the first step on the white, and then I'm going to do the watercolor on the black, just so you guys can see all the differences. So again, because this is glass, it also withstands heat, so it is great for your heat embossing projects. It is great for stenciling. If you remember Darlene's video, she attached her waffle flower grip mat to the surface, so you can always add that on there as well. All right, what have I got in my little box of tricks here? All my notes can go away.
You have one vote for both, and so far two votes for white.
Okay, so we're going to start on the white. I just have some white media card. This is actually Vicky Bouton cardstock because I am going to be doing a little bit of a wet technique in here. I'm going to be doing some stenciling. And I did grab my grip mat. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it on there yet. We'll see. We'll see what we're going to do. And I've got my embossing pad. You can use a brayer for this technique. What we're going to do is we're going to sponge some embossing ink through the stencil, then emboss it. I prefer to use just a foam tool. I've got the domed foam end on here, but you could use a brayer if you wish. And we're going to do a bit of a resist technique. So this is the Layered Hearts background stencil, which is part of the newest Lawn Fawn release. Does it have a picture on the back? It does. So there are 3 different heart layers. And when you stencil all 3 of them, you get a variety of different hearts on your page. I'm just going to start with 1. And I might as well, you know what? No, I think I'm going to skip number 1. I'm going to go with number 2 and number 3. And keep it simple. So the one thing that this does not have, it is not magnetic. So you are going to want some tape or something to stick it down. Or again, this is where your grip mat might come into play. I'm going to just peel a little bit of tape. Don't need a lot. I just don't want it to wiggle. So I'm just doing a little loop on the back. Stick it down. I'm not actually measuring, so I don't need it to go in any particular way. And let's go off. There we go. And I'm going to take a little bit of tape just to hold my stencil from wiggling as well. And oh, you know what? I missed a step. Good thing I haven't started yet. I've got my Pink and Main powder tool. Because I'm doing embossing, I want to make sure that the static and everything is all knocked away. So I'm just dusting it with this anti-static tool there. I did get a little bit of extra powder, but it's all good. Okay, now this can flip over. Got my embossing, got my tool, and I'm just going to apply this as if I would any other ink. Just kind of dab it in here. A little bit less of a circular motion, more of a dabbing motion, just to get it all in all the nooks and crannies. And you don't have to be, oh, I'm pushing on it a little bit. You don't have to be super heavy-handed. You're going to get some good stuff in here just by using that foam tool. Okay. So cover it up, lift it up, and this is where you're not going to see anything because it's clear. But let's take my little tape off. Oh, and I forgot copy paper, so good thing I have my notes. And I'm actually just going to use a clear embossing powder, clear on white, because we are going to do a technique where the white is going to show through the clear. Just have faith. All right. He says, yes, dear. Love that. Love that. All right. Little spot here in the middle that I missed. Knock it off. There we go. I don't know. Can you see it? Oh, there you go. Ever so slightly. Okay, let's put the clear back in here. I'm going to switch colors for the second layer, but let's heat set this one before we move on because we don't want to smudge anything. And please forgive the noise for a second. Once again, because this is a glass mat, it is nice and heat resistant, so you can do your heat embossing right on top. And just like magic, those hearts are coming out. Yep, that's okay.
Oh, it's sort of there,
Yeah, you can sort of see it. Well, now we're going to do the second layer. Now it's interesting, as I'm looking at it, there is a little bit of condensation from behind where the embossing powder was, so just give it a little light. And now I'm going to do stencil number 3, and it does have the etched lines there, so you can line up. Actually, let me get this stuck down first. That would help. All right, and then line it up. Hard to do. Please forgive my head on the camera. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Get another little piece of tape. This time. And then I'm going to repeat. So this time I think I'm going to go silver ink. It's going to look cool. Stay. Yeah, because I don't have any yellow tape. My yellow tape is much stickier.
We just got it back in stock. So.
Oh, we just got yellow tape back in stock? Well, then I can replenish my stash. All right. Now, I realize I did not redo the anti-static powder. You don't really, once you've done it once, you should not need to do it again. Alrighty, that one goes up. My paper. And let's do, oh, I was gonna do silver. There's my silver. Be generous. There we go. Get the spots I missed. Oops, now I'm getting messy. That's not good. All right. That's all ready to heat set. Let me clean. And I've got a little bit of powder, so let me grab, where did it all, oh, there's my George. Sounds like George is getting full. I need to empty him up.
I love how you call him George.
He is George. This is me just being particular, not wanting to emboss powder onto my glass mat. All right, let's give this a heat. I'm seeing a couple spots where I missed, but we're just gonna go with it. All right, so now I have this beautiful, beautiful embossed area, but you guys still can't really see that clear stuff. I know, that's okay. So there are a couple things we could do. We could ink blend over that, but I'm gonna channel I'm going to channel my deeply buried mixed media soul. Where'd my pink go? There's my pink. Yeah, you can tell Julia, you can tell Chris. They'll both be very proud of me. All right, so what I'm going to do is, and this is where having that white surface really looks good. I'm going to just add some spritz to it, and we're going to smoosh. Look at that. So here, now you can see those clear hearts coming out to play. All right. I'll just keep using, no, I'm gonna get a paper towel. All right. So even though I would typically use my Ranger gun for this, I'm just gonna use this one here that I've got out with the lower setting, just to give it a little dry. And what I can now do is go in and buff those clear areas. And voila, see how those hearts are coming out to play. All right, that was pink. Let's do some Mermaid Lagoon. And look at me going all smooshy smooshy. All right, so colors are starting to play a little bit. Where'd my paper towel go? Oh, it fell on the floor. All right. And we'll heat set that just so that it dries. Really just this one little area here that's got a real puddle of water. And then we'll buff up. The embossing powder is resisting all of the ink. And they're all coming out to play. All right, let's do one more color. I'm going to do that red. Nice little smooshy smoosh. Spritz, spritz.
Even though Andy's getting messy.
There we go. There's that one little area in here that I can't see. Oh, there's some over here as well. Okay. That's me getting messy. Let's give it one more quick heat set. How fun is that? And because this glass mat is so heat resistant, I can work on that surface without having to switch things up. I can just go back and forth with my techniques and create that really fun background.
Sheri, are you using mini distress inks or are you using oxides?
I am using mini distress inks. You could absolutely do the exact same technique with the oxides. Just with the oxides, know that you're going to get a chalkier, softer look to that. Here, let me. Yep, no, I know. I'm going to grab Not the exact same color, but I've got a little extra swatch here, so let me just show you. That I need for something else. Oh, there it is standing up. Okay, so here's a second one. I'm not going to do the embossing part of it, but just from a smooshing standpoint. So this is Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide. Once again, just wet it up. And then, oops. So, a little bit softer compared to this one, but absolutely you can do the same thing. Now, because I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to heat set this, and I can do that off camera if it's still not dry, but definitely you can use the oxides instead of the distress. And honestly, you can use any water-based ink for this technique. Does not have to be Tim's. That just happens to be what I grabbed for tonight. All right, so that was using the white part of the mat. Let's switch to the black mat. Oh, one thing I did not point out earlier, the back of both of these mats have little rubber feet to help it from sliding all over your workstation, as well that one in the center just to make sure it's nice and balanced. Now, I will say that my large size one, because I did use it a lot in the store and carried it back and forth, the little nubs came off. You can always get those from the hardware store, or what I did is I just took a piece of craft foam and hot glue gunned it to the back. As long as you've got a nice little soft surface, then it's a little bit easier to avoid slipping. All right, so now we're switching to the black. I am going to use my little lawn fawn. This is the Sometimes Life is Prickly. We call him the rock and roll hedgehog. I think he's actually supposed to be a porcupine, but you know. And where did my Misty go? All right. So first and foremost, I've got my baby Misty out. Got this cute little hedgehog guy. I need to dust this with some powder. No, I don't need to do the whole thing because, yep, that's okay. I'll put the lid on later. Let's clean as we go. All right, so put my paper in and my stamp. And this time, instead of using the embossing ink, I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair, which is a pigment ink. This also holds embossing powder very well. So ink him up. Make sure he's nice and crisp. Beautiful. And switch. And I'm going to use black embossing powder on him. And of course, I did not open this one before going live. There we go. Ooh. Very full, even. I'm gonna have to clean my lid. That's okay. Now you may be saying, well, why are you using black powder if you've got black ink? I just wanted to have that nice shiny raised surface. And I've got it all over my fingers. And even though this ink is waterproof, sometimes you want that little bit of extra protection if you are doing a watercoloring technique. All right, This guy is really messy. I'm gonna have to clean him up later. George. And let's heat him up. And he's a little bit speckly. Oops. Don't touch embossing powder while it's still hot. It'll smudge. Woo. We'll pretend I didn't do that. And that is one of the things with the glass mat, is that it may not dry as or cool as instantly as it would on a other regular surface. Anyway, you guys get the idea. Oh, no, I don't want to put that away because I'm still using it. All right, so let's watercolor our friend. Oh, and look, I've still got ink here. Excellent. But I don't know that I have the right inks. So here is my brown. This was my tea dye, which I'm going to use for his belly. And this time I've just got a little bit of water. And let's watercolor our little hedgehog. Just like so. So you see, this is where I've got the palette all set up here. I've got all my inks out and ready, so I don't have to stop when I'm ready to change colors. And by all, I'm realizing I didn't do all of them, but that's the concept. Then this was the antique linen. No, sorry, tea dye. Get my colors right. To do his body. Oh, and I missed a little bit of fur underneath here. Now, what color was this? Oh, that's yellow. Let's do that for the little flower pot. Oh, now I'm getting messy. It got him on his arm. All fixed. Okay, let's let that dry. And I need my green. Why is it always when you put some inks aside, they always fall color side down? So you still have to flip them over to see what color they are. Okay, a little bit of green here. And I need some pink. Is this pink? Yeah, that'll do. Just for the little flower. Oh, that did not work well at all. That was one big drop that I wasn't planning on. Love watercolor though, it's so forgiving. Just suck it up with a paper towel and away you go. There's my little rock and roll hedgehog. So you can heat emboss on this. We did the smooshing. We've got watercolor. You could do pastes on here. Now, I do not have the die for this little guy, so fussy cutting scissors to the rescue. I'm just going to cut this little guy out. So I think all of this is to say that you do not necessarily need to be a mixed media crafter to find that a media mat or a studio mat has a place in your craft room. It's great for all kinds of techniques. It helps to keep things contained. It gives you a dedicated workspace that you don't worry about getting dirty. And then what we can do is, if this was my card, then maybe I would just pop him just a couple little foam squares. I mean, this is super simple. You could mat this guy, you could layer him, you could build a little friend for him so that he's got, it could be for a Valentine's Day card. And let's get our Misty back. Go on the other end here. And we're gonna say, I'm sorry I was prickly. Sometimes I am sorry is a much needed thing to say. Oh, let's get him out of the way. Any last questions as I finish up here, Matt? Or is everybody pretty quiet?
Quiet. I'm wondering if you pick this as a hint for the prickly.
Not at all. Not at all. All right. We all have days where we're a little bit off, a little bit prickly. Nope. And there. Oh, they keep flipping on me. There we go. Squish them down. Peel the backings.
I don't know if she's prickly every day.
Can you be prickly and cuddly at the same time? Oh dear. All right, and even though I've got the sentiment on and everything else, let's do one last thing. Get another foam here, just to show you, because you know I assume that we all know that you can ink blend on these mats, but let me just show you. Just do some red around your edges. Just to define it. And there we go. So that's a little bit about Tania's favorite thing. Oops, come over to the center here, which is the glass mat from Tim Holtz. Whether you're choosing the black media mat or the white studio mat, there is lots and lots that you can do. It's a really versatile work surface that just helps you keep things tidy. I did mention the little feet, but you know, little, like I said, we first saw these mats when we were in right front and center in front of Tim at the trade show. And another reason for these feet, not only is it no stick, that's this mat rolling, not this, is that it does help protect your work surface. So even as your stuff comes crowding in, it's not crowding on your surface. So you won't be working in your lap. You will keep that dedicated space nice and clean for your crafting. All right, maybe Santa will bring one of these for you. Make sure you put it on your wish list. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to pop them into the comments. Is there anything else that I need to cover, Matt, before we close off for the evening?
People who already have one should pull it out and use it.
Pull it out and use it. Absolutely. If you have one already, pull it. I challenge you on your next project to pull your mat out, get it on your work surface, and just see how magical it feels for you. Alrighty then, until next year, everyone, happy crafting, happy holidays, and wishing you all the best. Good night.